YouTube, it's Tia and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about rude Italian habits. Habits that are generally accepted in Italy that would be considered rude in America. When I first came here, Italians would do these things and I would get like grossed out or offended because I'm like, what the? But actually here, these things aren't considered as rude. And sometimes the things that we do instead in America would be considered rude. So I've got 3 Italian habits that we Americans would consider rude, but are totally normal in Italy. So the first rude Italian habit is blowing your nose in public. All of my Italian friends walk around ready with a packet of tissues in their pockets, which is something that I've never seen in America, and it's something that I still haven't been able to get myself to do. People always ask me if I have a tissue, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't. I'm American, I don't walk around with tissues. You should though, because if you need a tissue, it's very handy to always have one. In Italy, the correct thing to do is when you blow your nose, when you have to blow your nose, to just blow it. You can blow it anywhere you want, if you're in class, if you're on the metro. If you need to blow your nose, you blow your nose. Strangely enough, in America, people don't really blow their nose in public. If anything, if you need to blow your nose, people usually like excuse themselves. They go to the bathroom to blow their nose, or they'll go to like, if you're in class, some people will go to like the back of the class to blow their nose. Blowing your nose in front of people is just seen as a really gross thing to do. And in America, what I would always do and what I know most people would do is you kind of sniffle. You just inhale and try to like get your stuff in, but guess what? In Italy, that is seen as disgusting. Go figure, sniffling and trying to spare people the sight of seeing you blow your nose would be considered rude here. Less rude and more disgusting. If an Italian blows their nose in front of you, they're actually not being rude, they're not being weird. You're going to be seen as the weird one for being upset about it. If you go to the store and you get change, like you give a 20 for something that costs 15 and you get 5 euros back, Italians will not give you the money back in your hand typically. And not handing somebody money and their change back in their hand is seen as something that is so rude in America. Like I remember when I first started working, when I got my first service job, one of the first things that they teach is like, yeah, when you hand somebody the change, you hand it in their hand, because it's just seen as really, really rude to just put the money on the counter and make the person like scramble to pick it up. So in Italy, that is the norm. And when I first got here, I honestly thought people were doing it to me because I was black. I'm like, did that person not hand me the money in my hand because I'm black? Is this something, are they racist? Why are they so rude? But then I found out after like telling the story to after it happening a couple times and me getting really like hurt by it, I ended up talking to my friends about it and they're like, no. In Italy, that's not seen as rude. Actually, that's the courteous thing to do, and it would be rude to hand you the money in your hand. In America, we're not touchy-feely at all, I feel, and Italians usually tend to be more close and okay with people touching them, making contact with people. So it's interesting to me that this thing with the money, in America, it's okay to touch people and give them the money, but in Italy, it's not okay and it's seen as rude. In Italy, the courteous thing to do is for the cashier or whoever's handing you the change to put it, usually there's a plate that is in between the cashier and the person where the change is supposed to go, so they'll put it on that thing and you take your change. That's the most correct thing to do in Italy. If you come to Italy and you know you're shopping or doing anything that involves money and somebody doesn't hand you your change back in your hand, they're not trying to be rude. That's just the way things are done here. It's just the exact opposite as it is in America. Italians, sometimes, well not sometimes, quite often, when you're in a conversation with an Italian person, it's not considered rude to interrupt people. Like that's just how they speak. Like you'll be having a conversation, you'll make your point, and then the other person will have their point and they'll just hop in. And what you're supposed to do is just like interrupt them as well, and it goes back and forth like that, and that's the normal rhythm of a conversation here. Whereas in America, it would be seen as completely rude to cut somebody off and to interrupt somebody while they're speaking. Yeah, and so it's been really hard for me because I'll be in like these group conversations and people will bounce off back and forth really fast. saying everything that comes to their mind, and I'll be like making my point. You guys know how I make my points if you watch my videos. I usually have a long, elaborated, thought out explanation for something that I'm about to say, and right in the middle of this beautiful explanation, somebody just like cuts me off and says theirs. And I mean, I don't know, it's something that I'm still getting used to. Just a habit that I haven't been able to acquire yet here. What will happen when I'm in a conversation in the real world is like I'll make my point, somebody will interrupt me, and I'll be quiet for the rest of the conversation because I'm trying to find a break. I'm trying to find a break in the conversation to make my point, but there will never be a break in that Italian conversation. You have to just like jump in and say it because that's how things are done here. These habits are kind of hard for me to explain because I'm not saying obviously that Italians are rude for doing them. I'm saying that cultures are different, habits are different, and this is how it's done in Italy. That's completely not the way it's done in America. And so coming from a different social context, you might find it rude, but it's not actually rude. I feel like, especially in certain social situations, people think that I'm like super quiet or I don't want to participate in the conversation, but the actuality is just I can't because, I don't know, even because Italian's not my first language, I can't just like interrupt somebody while they're speaking Italian and getting all fast. And for us, manners is waiting for your turn to speak and also allowing people to have the chance to speak, asking, you know, what do you think? What's your opinion? Giving that open for dialogue. Whereas in Italy, it's kind of just like ta, 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 ta. And it's just something to get used to. It's something that's different for us. It's not now that I live here and I see that it's not that people are trying to be mean, it's just the way things are done. Now that I see it, it's just like, oh, okay, I get it. It's just a different way of approaching things, but it was definitely it's something I'm still adjusting to. Those are just 3 Italian habits that I've come across while living here that would be considered totally rude in America, but they're totally normal here. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm right on these? Do you think I'm wrong on these? What are some habits that you've noticed living here that you would consider rude in your country, but they're actually normal here in Italy? And Italians, what are some habits that foreigners have that are totally rude here, maybe you discovered in their country? That's just how they do it. I'd love to start a conversation in the comments section and see what you guys all think. As always, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Mwah.